Hello, Bob Wiedefeld here. You have gotten this far in the course in the fall of 2013. We have 3 weeks left before the end of the course, so I wanted to take 10 to 15 minutes to try to talk to you about the strategy that you may follow for the next 3 weeks in order to not only be successful in the course, but hopefully to get that A that you had wanted to get when we started some 12 weeks ago. It should be obvious at this point that writing and writing well are extremely high priorities in this course. And the reason for that is because writing and writing well are extremely high priorities in success in all parts of life these days. So you've done a good deal of writing up until now, and you're going to have to continue to do a good deal of writing between now and the end of the course. So let me talk a little bit about what the requirements are for the course. You are painfully aware by now that you have been responsible for posting at least three items in the cafe for every module that we've had in the course. Quickly going over them again, the first item is a response to whatever assignment was actually posted in the assignments section of the course. The second posting that you're responsible for is to respond to at least one other student's post for the assignment. And both of those go into the first section in the cafe. And in the summary section in the cafe, you are to summarize toward the end of the week for the current module what you've learned in that particular module. If you've done this every single week and you have not gotten an email, a personal email from me indicating that what you have posted is not acceptable, then you can assume that you have an A for that part of the course. That's all there is to it. It's that simple. If you receive an email from me indicating that what you have posted is not acceptable, then I gave you in the email an option for redoing the assignment so that it does respond to the requirements, and I've given you a new deadline for that particular assignment. So you've had ample opportunity to do really well in that part of the course. Hopefully each of you is watching this and thinking to yourself, terrific, I have an A for that part of the course. You also have an assignment which is a research paper, and the research paper is going to be due in a few weeks, and I will post the requirements for submitting that research paper into the announcements section of the course within the next week or so. Please, you must follow the directions for submitting the research paper exactly. I will not accept a paper that is submitted in any way other than the way that the instructions require. So please be very, very careful. As the course syllabus and the course materials indicate, if you fail to submit your course project, the research paper, on time, and completed, then a failing grade will be issued to you for the course, regardless of how well you may be doing in other sections of the course. There's a reason for this. And the reason is very simply that over the 40 years or so that I've been teaching, I found that if there was a research paper that's, let's say, 20% of the grade, it's more than that for this course, but if there's a research paper that's perhaps 20% of the grade, then students will work really hard and they'll get an A in the rest of the course and then not bother with the research paper and still wind up with a 75 or an 80 average for the final grade. So you must complete the research project and submit it on time in order to be eligible for it to count toward your grade. And also, if you fail to do that, if you fail to submit it, then you will fail the entire course. Let me mention one thing I am not inclined under any circumstances to issue an incomplete grade. I have done it and I will do it under extremely unusual and critical circumstances. But ordinarily, I do not issue an incomplete grade. So if you're moving along in the course to this point and you're up to date, then then don't count on getting behind with a research paper and asking for an incomplete for more time to finish the paper. That isn't going to happen. Also, if you are behind or way behind in this course, I've given you every opportunity, every single opportunity to catch up and still get an A in the course. And even with 3 weeks left, you still have that possibility. You still have that opportunity, but you're going to have to get to it. The point of no return is approaching very, very quickly. That point where there just isn't enough time to make up all of the work that you've missed. However, all deadlines have been removed from all of the assignments that are to be posted to the cafe, which means that you can go back and you can either embellish or actually do any assignment that you may have missed in the past without any penalty. And that's a pretty unique opportunity, so you should take advantage of it. At this point in this course, regardless of where each student is, every single student, as of right now, has the opportunity to turn things around and to actually get an A in the course, but certainly to pass the course between now and the end of the first week in December. So you should take every opportunity to do that. Now let me talk a little bit about your project, the research paper. You had an essay midterm exam, and most of you submitted that essay midterm exam. Let me go off on a tangent for a second. If you're behind and you did not complete the midterm exam and you think, well, that automatically fails me for the course, as I said in one of the announcements recently, if you send me an email and you convince me that you are now up to date with all of your assignments, then I will give you an opportunity to actually take that midterm exam without penalty. But you have to convince me that you're up to date with everything else before I'll do that. And that offer is open right up until the end of the course. Back onto the research project. With the midterm exams that were submitted, one of the requirements of the exam was that the student fully utilize APA formatting in the final product. APA formatting is something, or MLA, but in this particular case, APA, the American Psychological Association formatting process, is something that you're going to have to be extremely familiar with as you move on in your college career. Some of you, obviously, are very familiar with it. I had a few responses when I sent out the grades for the midterm, and I indicated in some of those instances that the student failed to follow APA formatting. I got a response from some of you saying, well, I did. I looked up APA and I followed it. Well, actually, you didn't. In most of those cases, there was an obvious attempt to follow APA. The majority of the problems that occurred with the midterm, as far as APA is concerned, is that students failed to include or properly include in-text citations along with the APA formatting. The in-text citation is very, very simply the insertion of, parenthetically, the insertion of information about where the reader should go in the references section in order to find the reference that was used for that particular either quote or paraphrase in the paper. So let's say you paraphrase an author that says the sun is out today. That's not your original work. You have paraphrased something that an author has said. This is kind of a silly example, but bear with me. So once you have stated that, whether it's a quote or simply a paraphrase, somebody else's idea, then you end your quote or end the paraphrase, open up a parenthesis, put the last name of the author, comma, the year that the work was written, comma, and the page number, if there is a page number, end parentheses, and that's an in-text citation. Now that in-text citation has to lead the reader to the references page, to the exact item that will tell the reader where to go to find the book, the magazine, or the online article that was cited. And this is extremely important. So in a number of the midterm exams, you set up your paper extremely well, an inch on all four sides, double spaced, Times New Roman 12 font. All of that was done extremely well. Title page, you must follow APA standards for a title page as well. But you failed to include any in-text citations, or you failed to properly format the in-text citation so that it's a clean transition from what you're reading to the references page to see where you can find where it appeared by that particular author. So go back to your APA source and study this very, very carefully. Now, you have 2 written assignments remaining. The final exam will be an essay exam, precisely like the midterm exam was. These 2 exercises are designed to give you some practice so that you can feel very comfortable with the final course project, which is of course a much more substantial exercise in both research and in writing. And then of course you have the final research paper. So if you haven't started writing the paper yet, you need to do it right away. You need to get on it. The hardest thing by far for everyone, and I went through it myself, the hardest thing is to get started. So if you haven't started yet, please go ahead and start. Don't leave this thing until the very last minute. I've done that myself over the years, and it simply doesn't pay. Write the paper. Write the draft of the paper. Make sure that you use APA formatting. I can assure you that the research paper will be run through software that will determine whether there is plagiarism in the paper or not. You must be familiar with the definition of plagiarism. Basically, it's using either the words or the thoughts of someone else without giving that person or that source the appropriate credit. In other words, it looks in the paper as though it was your own original thought or words, and they were not. So be very careful. You have 3 weeks. If you haven't started, start right now. If you have, complete it. Okay, go through. Have your rough draft, your final rough draft done. Try to have it done a week before it's due. And store it away. Okay, and forget about it for a few days. And then go back and read it as an outside observer might. Okay, that's the idea of putting it away for a few days, because you may see some mistakes. Use spell check as best you can. If you have any other editorial software that'll help you in terms of the composition, where commas are placed, and whether there are run-on sentences, etc., then please use that software. This is not a difficult assignment, and I will grade it as leniently as I can, so long as it's obvious to me that you have made a solid attempt to do everything that's supposed to be done. However, I'm not going to let silly or careless mistakes ride. I understand that, of course, nobody has said this to me, but I understand if you're saying to yourself, hey, this is a course in business, why the emphasis on writing? It's not an English writing course. If you're going to succeed in business, and I'll expand it, if you're going to succeed in life, then you need to, number 1, learn how to follow directions exactly, and number 2, you have to know how to write extremely well. So 3 weeks left. I would love nothing more, and I'm very sincere when I say this, to be able to give everyone in this class a final grade of A. All you have to do is take full advantage of every opportunity that I've given you to make sure that that happens. I wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving holiday. As always, if you have any problems or questions, please address them to me in the Ask the Professor section of the cafe, unless they are personal questions, in which case you can send me an email. Thank you.